got a few puppies and I keep on feeding them dog food.
What's good, everybody? What's good? It's your boy Cardinal Bud Crawford, or ES Red, if that's what you want to call me. And we are back for another one. Man, the heat is finally gone. Oh my God. Thank God. Alright, y'all, new topic for today. New topic. Reality check. Terence Crawford's backup plan proves he's ducking Errol Spence Jr. super fight. Alright, y'all, so the more I talk about this fight, the more I gotta shake my head. Because the more I talk about it, the more it seems like it is not going to happen. Or maybe, you know, just the people involved in the fight want to build it up to the point of the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, which I think is impossible. I don't think a fight will ever in history will gross that type of money again. Like, I don't think anybody will ever be able to break Manny Pacquiao's boxing records. And he was a part of that fight, so he's in the record books as the highest pay-per-view grossing boxer in history, along with Floyd Mayweather. I don't think anybody will ever break those records again. But, you know, for a guy like Terence Crawford, who says he wants something so bad, and for him to finally get it and to be throwing so many excuses out why he doesn't want to sign the contract now at this point, I think he's starting to prove that he's just not interested in losing that fight. And why do I say losing that fight instead of taking that fight? Because, you know, Devin Haney just proved something really big when he took on George Kambosos, or Kambosos, however you want to pronounce his name, by taking a smaller purse, by going overseas, by not having his full team with him. He proved that boxing has nothing to do, or the sport of boxing, or sports in general, it really has nothing to do with the money. It's the legacy that you're trying to leave. It's the love for the sport that you're trying to put on display. You know, these people are at the highest level of a specific sport. And, you know, many people would love to achieve what they have achieved in life and get the dollar amounts and be able to fight in front of those type of crowds. And there are many boxers out there who would do it not for completely for free, but a lot of them for a lot less money, just to get the exposure. And for a guy like Terence Crawford, who's supposed to be the elitist of the elite boxers, pound for pound king in most people's eyes, you know, ESPN backs him. You know, he's got all these people pushing him to greatness and saying that he is the pinnacle of greatness at this point in the sport of boxing. For a guy like that to completely refuse to take a fight, and he basically has been begging for this for months and months and months and years, a few years now, and he finally got what he wanted. And it's like, what you received is not good enough for you for some reason. I understand there are factors involved, especially when it comes with money. But Devin Haney showed that, you know, I'll do it for the legacy and get my money later. Terence Crawford is showing that it's more about just the dollar amounts. And, you know, I even starting to feel like his age is playing a role in his decision making. His team, since he left Bob Arum, they haven't been making good business decisions. His business decisions have been horrible since he left Arum. You know, sometimes a fighter needs that promoter, even if the promoter isn't always pushing them to take the best fights. the promoter's always going to do what's in the best interest of the fighter, as long as they're marketable and sellable. And I think Bob Arum was kind of that measuring stick for, hey, if you can get this done, get it done. He was that battery in his back to try to get something done. And now it seems like his team that's pushing him, or this team that's controlling his career at this point, they're just in stall out mode. Well, Terence, don't do this. Terence, don't do that. Terence, don't take that money. Terence, wait for this. Terence, go over here. And it seems like everybody is pushing him to do something that he really shouldn't do, which is stall this fight out. You know, the longer he waits, the older he gets. Errol Spence has maybe 2 to 3 more years of upside potential, according to most people in boxing. I really don't go off of that because, I'm a Manny Pacquiao fan, and Pacquiao went well into his 40s boxing and was doing it on an elite level. It can still come back and do it on an elite level. So I don't feel like there's a time clock of an athlete unless you're doing things that are not conducive to being an athlete. Like if you're a smoker or a drinker, if your life is all about partying, if you're putting yourself in dangerous situations, then you're probably not going to be a athlete who has serious longevity in their career, because we all know those things eventually break your body down quicker than it should have. Now, sports will break your body down quicker than it should, period. But if you're being a alcoholic and a habitual smoker on top of that, then you're probably going to break down quicker than you would if you weren't doing those type of things. And I know Terence Crawford leads a very clean lifestyle, but still the age factor is eventually going to play a role the longer he holds out. And now he's bringing up this Charlo thing, and then people got mad at me because I mispronounced Jermell Charlo's name the other day. I'm not the best name guy in the world. I don't know everybody's name. I can't pronounce everybody's name. And a lot of these fighters, I know who they are. I just don't follow them enough to be able to pronounce their names completely. I follow George Kambosos, but I have no idea how to pronounce his name correctly. But, that's neither here nor there. For Terence Crawford to even bring up Jermell Charlo as a backup plan, but he's had other backup plans that have been brought to the table, like Manny Pacquiao. There was talk of Manny Pacquiao. There's been talk of Jermell Charlo. There's been talk of him possibly fighting, who was it? Was it Boots? Boots' name. Keith Thurman's name's been thrown around. But I think Boots is completely off the table. He's too dangerous for either one of those guys. Keith Thurman, that's a pointless fight at this point. It would just be a money grab at this point. Jermell Charlo would be, if he actually fought Charlo instead of Errol Spence and Charlo beat him, I would say, 100% that he was, and I'm saying 100% now that he's fearful of losing to Errol Spence. I don't even think, because I think he's going to lose to Jermell Charlo if he fought him anyway. If he decided to take that fight instead of the Errol Spence fight, I think he would have done that on purpose, and he would much rather lose to Charlo than lose to Errol Spence. It's almost like saving face. Well, okay, if I'm gonna lose, I can't lose to my rival. I can't let my loss be to Errol Spence Jr. because then my fans are gonna turn on me and his fans are gonna eat me alive and all these other. And he can. It's crazy because he can go fight Charlo and lose, and still have the Errol Spence fight to be made. He can still make that Errol Spence fight because he'll still be a welterweight champion. But it's going to take some sting out of that fight. And I feel like perhaps maybe his plan, like I've been saying, is to cash out. To cash out of the boxing world. So if you went and got a nice paycheck versus Charlo, and then you turned around and went and fought Errol Spence and got another nice paycheck. Let's say you lost to Charlo, but you got 10, 15, maybe even $20 million for that fight, and then you turn around and fight Errol Spence Jr. and get another 10, 15, $20 million just to lose. You know, I've been saying he's trying to cash out of the sport, and it's really looking that way. It's looking. The more I talk about this fight, man, the more sad and sad the state of boxing looks to me. You know, the state of boxing is so Mayweather at this point. There are no more warriors. You know, the Devin Haneys of the world are of the boxing world, they're very few and far in between. There are very few guys in the boxing world who are doing it just for the love of the sport. You know, I would say Devin Haney's one. I like Shakur Stevens. Gervonta Davis is another one. Even though Davis turned down the Cabosa fight overseas, you know, I still like the fact he will get in the ring with anybody, even no-name people like Rolly Romero, who does not belong in the boxing ring with him, and he just does his job. You know, I'm gonna do my job. This is what I do. I'm great at it. I'm gonna do my job and show and prove. And Terence Crawford is a complete opposite at this point in his career of those things. He doesn't have the warrior mentality. He doesn't exhibit the type of fighter who just does it for the love of the sport. He's not in it for his legacy. He's definitely doing it for money at this point. And he's just Mayweathering. He's putting a Mayweather issue on the fight that should not have to be there. You know, Mayweather created a lot of false narrative to keep fights from happening, and now Terence Crawford is becoming the king of that. The king of placing something in the way of a fight happening simply because you either don't want to lose or it's not enough money involved for you. And you know, that's completely sad if you ask me, man. And it's going to eventually ruin the sport of boxing, whether people believe that or not. It's going to draw fans are already leaving the sport, you know, and this is just going to push more and more fans away, because the fights we want to see, we never get to see them. And if we do get to see them, they're way past their prime, and the luster is gone out of the fight. Both fighters have gotten old, and it's just not worth investing your time into unless you're a hardcore fan and just want to see it. You know, a lot of people watched the Mike Tyson-Roy Jones fight, even though it wasn't a real fight, and just for nostalgia reasons, people checked it out. So I would hate for these guys to be relegated to nostalgia fighters when this fight actually happens. But it's a possibility it could end that way, and that, you know, Terence Crawford and his inability to want to prove his legacy and his greatness and his willingness to hold out for money is proven, and the fact that he is bringing up names like Charlo is proven he just doesn't want to lose, or perhaps lose to Errol Spence Jr., his biggest rival. And I think that is the biggest holdup in this. You know, he's exposed himself to not wanting to lose. I don't think he cares about losing. It's just losing to Errol Spence. Let me know what y'all think about that down in the comment section below, man. Do y'all feel like he's exposing himself, that he's holding this fight up strictly because he doesn't want to lose to ESJ? And he'll rather lose to a guy like Charlo than to lose to Errol Spence first, man. Let me know what y'all. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe, tell a friend. Cat Dog, anybody you know. Holler at me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You're more than likely to get a response on YouTube than any of the other social media platforms. It's your boy, Cardinal Bud Crawford, and we are